Hi, my name is Persephone Abbott, and I'm working on Mordecai of Monterey, which was published in 1985, and so I'm working on republishing it. This book, written by my father, has a main character called Mordecai, as you might imagine, and Mordecai was based on a friend of my father's, and that friend was the poet Michael Sowl. Having gone through most of this, I'm at the last few pages now, most of this book carefully, I would estimate that probably the character of Mordecai is about 80% Michael Sowl and 20% my father. They met in Monterey in the 1970s, and this book is set in 1973, 1974. I'd like to read a poem by Michael Sowl, and the poem is called Rearranging the Gobi, as in the Gobi Desert. Rearranging the Gobi. I think an oriental, authentic rug in a field of dandelions and maybe a bowling alley next to the Mirage on the left. And this was published in a small publication called Blue Suede Shoes. These editions were typed out basically and stapled together. And this is from, I believe, the early 1970 period. I don't see a date on it right now. So that was Michael Sowl's poem. And now I'd like to read a poem by my father out of this little booklet called Joie de Vivre, again stapled together. This is from 1972. And the poem is called A Secret Poem from Michael Sowl. We talked tonight of you going to the city with me. We agreed that it will be crazy and drunk. If you get $10 in the mail, you will go. I left the bar and drove home, unable to sleep. Now the chamomile tea seems so weak. I keep pouring it back again and again into the pot. Now, in this book, there are poems because the main character is a poet. And I found some of these poems in these little booklets that I have here so inspirational that I've kind of tried to sneak a few extra in. We'll see how it goes. But I'd like to tell you a bit of a miracle story. And that is, prior to my mother's death, I was hoping and trying to coordinate that my father's archives would go in its entirety to the University of Western Washington in Bellingham. Unfortunately, that did not happen. However, prior to my mother's death, a person contacted me, a family member of Michael Sowl, and wanted to know my mother's contact details because he wanted to give Michael Sowl's materials that he received from my father or that were from their friendship era to my mother. And I was hoping that they would go into the archives. After my mother died, I remembered that email, and I contacted Wayne and asked him about the materials that he had. And he said that he had not sent them to my mother, which thankfully he did not, because I don't know what would have become of them then. But he agreed to send them to me, and I went to the States in September of 2021 to Bellingham. And I looked at the archives and was rather upset that so much material was missing from the archival material of my father's. But Wayne didn't send the two big boxes, like shoe boxes, like boot box, a shoe box size, of materials to me in time for me to give them to the archives in Bellingham. And I'm really grateful that he didn't, because they reached me when I was in New York afterwards and ready to fly home. So I took the materials home with me, and they've been really helpful in me understanding the times of Mordecai of Monterey. I've made folders and organized them in dates here, and in the folders are not only the letters my father sent Michael Sowl, but some of these publications that Wayne was able to send me. I know at the archives there are copies of these small publications, so I plan on donating the correspondence my father sent to Michael Sowl to the archives in Bellingham before my own death. And I've also made folders of a little bit later time, and I put my own the letters my father wrote me in these, and I will also donate those to the archives eventually. So that's a bit of a miracle story, that I have some materials to use as reference and enjoy, and I have. So I'll keep you posted on how I'm going and getting on with my re-edition.